Alright. Oh. Act of God asks the question, what if one day, without explanation, all the superheroes and villains lose their powers? We see these heroes in the middle of the day when suddenly every super is stripped of their powers. Before we dive any deeper in this story, Superman, Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, and Supergirl all lose their powers, but Hawkman doesn't. Okay, so I'm confused because Superman, Girl, and Manhunter are all aliens. I would think their powers are related to their species, but does this mean that on their planet, with that out of the way, we see this event affect the heroes immediately after they lose their abilities? We see the Flash unable to prevent a cop's death. We also see Kyle Rayner's Green Lantern lose a fight to Sonar. Confused by this, they all meet at the Watchtower and we see the recipe for what this story becomes, which is almost everyone bitching and whining about their powers being taken away from them. We see Green Lantern, Kyle, and throughout the entire storyline, he is in his apartment, furious that he lost against Sonar. He doesn't reach out to no one contacts him, he's just so angry over the course of a couple years, mind you, over losing a fight with fucking Sonar. Superman is also just devastated by the news, so much so that Lois Lane, his fiancée at this point, leaves him because she just can't deal with Clark, and he's like, yeah, I'd leave me too. This story is just a soap opera. It's awful. I love it. When all the heroes' powers gone, the techno heroes must rise up, and we see Steel, who gets hurt because his suit freaks out during the blackout event. But he goes into battle anyway when the Toyman is trying to attack Lex Luthor and Metropolis. But Steel just dies, and that's the end of the first issue. We see in the next issue Booster Gold and the Blue Beetle try and fight Toymaker, but they also very quickly get beat. This whole story paints technology-based heroes to be just awful at their job. None of them rise to any occasion, and it takes a whole new set of people to do anything whatsoever. But it's okay, because the National Guard and Hawkman show up and stop them. That's another thing. These heroes seem to act just completely oblivious to the first responders and what they do. They show Clark going to Diana, and they're like, we have to be together because we lost so much, basically. We also see Supergirl become a cop, and she just fucking hates it. The fact that she has to do paperwork, she just misses wrecking shit and dipping. So all the others have a pep talk and go to Batman, who's completely unaffected. They want him to train them. He says no, then yes, then no, then... We then see the Atom, who agrees to be experimented on in a new series of experiments and genetic testing, but it's all funded and run by Lex Luthor. But it kind of works. Atom is able to get small, but he can't control it, so he's stuck at that size. He scratches a message on a table in a dollhouse he's being kept in and tries making a call, then shrinks even smaller, then back to normal so fast that he explodes and dies. And that's the end of the second issue. Okay, book 3, the last one. We see the new team named the Phoenix because they're rising from the ashes. Get it? We have Supergirl, now Justice. The Flash, now the Red Devil. Aquaman, now named the Hand. And Martian Manhunter, who now goes by the name the Green Man. Holy shit, what a memorable cast of characters. We then cut to Wonder Woman praying in a church, and Superman comes in drunk and still drinking. He starts to give her shit for praying, and then says, oh, I saved a kid from a fire once, and Diana's like, yeah, Clark, people do that all the time. They're called firefighters. He gets in a tizzy and leaves her. He runs out of money and is taken in by a priest who gives him food and money to get by. As he leaves, he sees a firefighter save a kid from a burning building, and he's like, oh my goodness. Again, these guys are just built to be so thick-headed. The group and Batman find out about Lex's plans and the evil experiments. The group wants to go, but Batman's like, not yet. And they're like, please. And Batman's like, alright, fine, but sends Nightwing with them. We see Kyle, and you'll never guess it, but he's still very, very angry. The gang break into the STARS lab and find out that X is making super weapons and testing on heroes to steal their genetic code or something. The gang frees some heroes and fights some techno villains. They give Joker a super suit, which looks just awful and does basically nothing. But they rise up and beat them, and they capture Lex Luthor, one of the smartest men in the DC universe, because he tries to walk past them wearing a hard hat. Batman's like, sick. They did it, and again, what the fuck were you guys doing exactly? It's like all of the non-power based heroes are like all smug now because they've quickly become top dog, except for Booster Gold and the Blue Beetle, who just immediately quit after losing to Toymaker. We also see Kyle, and he finds out that Sonar is being held up in an abandoned warehouse, so he goes down to fight him, and he quickly gets impaled. While winning the fight, he dies, and that's it. He just spends the whole story being angry, driving everyone who cares about him away. Then he dies because of his own ego, and they build a damn statue for him in the end to honor him. Like, oh my goodness. We also see Clark, who is now for some reason a lumberjack and talks to Martian Manhunter. They have a nice alien-to-alien chat. And Clark basically goes back to Diana. And she's like, oh, thank goodness, I'm going to have your baby. And then we cut to 2 years later in the future, and Superman and Wonder Woman, their child has powers somehow. Alright, and that's it. That's the end of the story. This story is so funny. It really does read like a soap opera. Even with everything I've gone through, there's still plenty of this story to enjoy. I would actually recommend this. Like a soap opera, it may not be good by any means, but it's entertaining and a relatively fast read. Much of it does read more as a parody than anything else. This also might be my favorite version of Superman so far that I've read. He's a downer, he's just pathetic and a drunk, he just whines and mopes and pushes everyone away, just while being a huge asshole. It's fantastic. Big fan.